You know, I tend to avoid this kind of video. I tend to avoid controversy, but f it, let's burn some bridges. I tend to lay low when it comes to talking about microtransactions. I personally don't buy them in any game, and well, to be more clear, I don't buy loot boxes. So in a broader sense, for games like Warframe or Path of Exile, I have in the past and will probably continue to support the developers of those games through the purchase of platinum or other in-game currencies. But as I just stated, when it comes to games like Overwatch or Destiny, where the loot boxes have a strong sense of randomness tied to them, my money stays where it belongs, in my bank account. However, anyone who has watched any video on my channel knows I like to analyze things on a deeper level. I like to understand things and will go to great lengths to do so in some cases. I began looking at Eververse and wondering, how much is silver worth? How much bright dust can you get per engram? Why is there a separation of bright dust and silver? How much is bright dust worth if you gave it a monetary value? How much is a single item worth? That same drive that I've had for knowing the drop rates of exotics, legendaries, skeleton keys, or anything in either of the two Destiny games began to bleed into the Eververse. I wanted to know the answers to these questions, and now that I began looking into it, I wish I hadn't. I began with the simple stuff. How much is one silver worth? This was simple to find out. Go to Test Everest, and in the top corner, a shiny buy silver button is there. And when you click it, it gives you a happy little jingle saying, "It's okay, little guardian, this is a good thing. Just listen to it." It's so happy. But once you're there, you have four options: 500 silver, 1100 silver, 2300 silver, and of course the quote-unquote best deal, 5800 silver for the low price of $49.99. To give the devs the benefit of the doubt, I converted the 5800 silver into a single penny's worth. You can get a whole 1.16 silver per penny, or 116 silver per dollar. I now had my first answer. We now know that 116 silver is the same as $1. It's not the worst thing, at least so far, but I needed to know more. Like, how much does a bright engram actually cost? If it was straightforward and cost 116 silver per bright engram, well then sure, they cost $1, but they don't. Individually, they cost 200 silver. But then you have the quote-unquote good deal option, where for 800 silver you can get 5 engrams, or 160 silver per engram. And since we already know that per penny we get 1.16 silver, by dividing 160 by 1.16, we can find out how many pennies it'll cost, which turns out to be 138 pennies, or $1.38. At this point, we know that 1.16 silver is worth a penny, and an engram costs $1.38 each. So far, nothing is out of the norm when it comes to the current state of the video game industry. Just over $1 per loot box isn't abnormal by any right, and for some, I guess you could loosely consider it acceptable. Until I began digging deeper, and things started turning for the worst. There's a separation of silver and bright dust in Destiny 2, and it wasn't until now that I realized why. It's simply so you can't place a monetary value on bright dust, at least without doing some pretty intensive digging. But of course, I didn't stop there. I began searching YouTube for every bright engram opening I could find, and I was looking for a pattern as to what every single engram gave you. In hindsight, this was obvious, but it wasn't something I paid attention to when I turned in bright engrams earned through XP. But after watching enough videos, that pattern was apparent. You always got 4 items, those being 1 stack of 3 shaders, 2 trash items, and 1 quote-unquote good item. The 2 trash items would always consist of at least 1 mod and 1 other item. That other item would always either be a legendary transmat effect, a rare transmat effect, or another mod. And the quote good item would always be a ship, a sparrow, an emote, a ghost, an ornament, or an armor piece, all varying in rarity. And then on rare occasion, this good item would be replaced with a gift of bright dust, which varies in quantity, either being 250, 500, or 1,000 bright dust. This allowed me to create a worst case and best case scenario when it came to bright dust and how much you could get per engram. In a best case scenario, you would receive a huge gift of bright dust equivalent to 1,000 bright dust, 3 legendary shaders which dismantle for about 10 each, adding 30 more, and a legendary transmit effect which dismantles for an additional 10 bright dust, totaling 1,040 bright dust per engram if every single one provided the best case every single time, which we all know is not the case. But for the sake of this video, let's pretend that they do for a second. This would mean that for $1.38, we could get 1,040 bright dust, or about 750 bright dust per dollar, which isn't too bad until you look at the worst case scenario, where when you open the bright engram, you get an emote, 3 legendary shaders, and 2 mods, or in terms of bright dust, about 30. This would mean that for $1.38, you get 30 bright dust, which is about 0.22 bright dust per penny, or 22 bright dust per dollar spent. It becomes a fishy situation from there. This makes this item, the ornament for the Orpheus rig, in a best case situation valued at $2, or in the worst case, costing more than the game itself at $68.18. This puts this exotic sparrow, the Holiday Cheer, in a best case scenario valued at around $3.33, or in the worst case scenario, costing you $113.64. This of course assumes that you buy all your engrams and you only receive the worst case or best case situations and don't actually play the game and you never received an engram via XP. These are strong assumptions, but when you start to think about it, luck is the only factor between paying $3 for an item and $113 for that item. That's a 3,400% markup based on only luck. Imagine going into McDonald's with the idea of getting something off the dollar menu. You aren't very hungry, so you just want a single McDouble. But the price is based on luck. It might cost you $1, or it might cost you $34. Who knows? Today is a different day, and Lady Luck might not be on your side. Now, I could have stopped there, but I wanted to take this further. I wanted to know what the value of everything combined was. I wanted to know the estimated value of a single season in Destiny 2. I looked through everything available in the Season 2 Bright Engrams. 15 armor pieces, 25 weapon ornaments, 9 armor ornaments, 5 exotic ghosts, 20 legendary ghosts, and so on, and so on, and so on. Altogether, totaling 186 different items. I then generously priced each item in terms of bright dust. Everything exotic priced at only 2,000 bright dust, even though in the past we've seen emotes above 3,000. All armor pieces were priced at 800 bright dust, even though right now the chest piece for the Dawning is selling for 1,200. I continued to generously price each item, resulting in a grand total cost for everything available in Season 2 at 116,250 bright dust. If we then use those same worst and best case scenarios, a single season costs anywhere from $155 to an insane $5,284.09. Even generously speaking, if we average those two numbers, each season would cost around $2,719.55. I'll be even more generous and cut it in half again, putting it down to $1,359.77, and then once again to $679.88. All these times that I've cut it in half is essentially adding an imaginary luck stat to your engrams that doesn't exist to simply prove a point. If Destiny 2 has a 3-year life cycle like its predecessor, with 4 seasons a year and a Dawning every year, with the best luck possible, averaging about 170 bright dust every single engram, you would have to spend the equivalent of $10,358.20 to obtain every single item, as well as purchase every single DLC and the expansion. Now, there is going to be the argument about the free engrams you can earn via XP, and this is true, and that is why I said the equivalent of $10,358.20. Because for those of you that wish to grind for it, let's find out how much time that'll take. We know that a bright engram costs $1.38, so that's only 7,506 bright engrams. I mean, 1.2 billion XP doesn't sound too bad. That's only 480,000 public events at 2,500 XP each. That's like 160,000 a year at roughly 5 minutes each. That's only 800,000 minutes per year. So if we start now and aim to finish by September of 2021, we just barely make it, finishing sometime near the beginning of April 2022. About 7 months too late. I bring this to my channel because this is a blatant insult to those of us that support Destiny and have supported Destiny. It's only cosmetics, and I get that, but it's still insulting. Even if you always got 1,040 bright dust per engram, and you could purchase what you pleased with that bright dust, it still pushes that total to nearly $2,500 just to purchase everything, which is still the equivalent of 1,811 bright engrams, which is still 290 million XP, which is still 97 million XP per year, which is still 39,000 public events, which would still take 194,000 minutes to obtain, or about 40% of an entire year. I know you know what you're doing, Bungie. I know you have done this exact math. I know you see the dollar signs, but so many of us want to play your game, and so many of us want to enjoy your game, but these things are pushing so many of us away. When speaking to Bungie, I am the minority. I know there are multiple people out there that have spent $100 on Bright Ingrams. I know there are probably multiple people that have spent $1,000 on Bright Ingrams. My voice is a little whisper that you can't quite make out over the sounds of the money rolling in. I get it. Money's important. Trust me. We all know this. Every single reasonable adult knows that without money, nothing happens. It's a necessary evil, and all of us like when we have more of it than what we spent. But this is too far. I don't buy silver, but I can tell you this, Bungie. If the game was more fleshed out, if this game had a deeper, meaningful endgame, if you gave us a reason to play things like the Lost Sectors and do the raids each week, or do guided games, or really anything in your game for that matter, if you gave us cosmetic goals outside of the Eververse and then put even cooler stuff in the Eververse, you know what? I might actually consider buying silver. And I can promise you, I could convince a few friends to buy the game as well, and they'd probably buy silver also. Digging into this and looking at the numbers, borderline pushed me to quit playing this game. But I will continue to play this game, 2 reasons. 1, the cosmetics never mattered to me. Eververse was never and will never be enticing enough to lure me in, so personally, I'm unaffected monetarily. And 2, because I owe it to my community here on YouTube to continue. And I guess I'll add a 3rd reason. That being, when I'm not looking at the end game and I'm not thinking about this kind of thing, your game is fun to play. Take that and run with it, Bungie. Take what's fun and make it, well, more fun. There's been so many games that were supposed to be the Destiny killer, the Division, and in the future Anthem, to name a few. But on the current path, the Destiny killer has a familiar name, but one we least expected. The game that will kill Destiny is Destiny. Now I will add one final note. While writing the script, Chris Barrett, game director at Bungie, tweeted the following. Happy holidays, Guardians. I hope you're enjoying the dawning, or at least a bit of chaos in the mayhem. There are a few things I wanted to mention before the year ends. For the upcoming Iron Banner and Faction Rally events, in addition to the brand new seasonal armor ornaments, we're adding new themed sparrows, ghosts, ships, and shaders to the reward pools. Also early next year, we're refactoring raid itemization across the game. The most difficult activities should be the most rewarding. And finally, I know we say it a lot, but we hear your feedback on the Eververse. We both want our players to feel respected and to deliver great content regularly to our community. Expect lots of discussion with the dev team and an update on our path forward after the new year. I hope that last statement is true, Chris. I really do hope you want your players to feel respected, because I distinctly remember, while in LA at the D2 reveal back in May, being told in a face-to-face conversation with one of your coworkers that this game was being made for the people in this room. I'm beginning to think that statement was talking about the other Bungie devs roaming around that hangar, and wasn't referring to the other content creators in the room playing the game for the first time. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, prove me wrong.